Hi, my name is Sarie. I want today to tell you all about how communication, sign language, and PR can all have very similar commonalities and are all very unique passions of mine. So to kick this all off, I wanted to start by presenting you the idea that before I have even started, you already know whether or not you like me. And it's incredible because your brain does this within a fraction of a second. You see me, you see how I almost trip on this cord after two people have told me not to. You see my behavior, maybe the way my coffee has yet to kick in, and you see that you can judge my behaviors and even my presentation already by the way I'm non-verbally communicating to you. So I wanted to start off with a little bit of science just to kind of get this presentation underway. This is all done within the brainstem of your beautiful anatomy and body. It is the central for nonverbal interpretation. And it's part of your central nervous system where you send, process, and receive speechless sign. And it's below the level of conscious awareness, so it's something that you're not even aware of what you're doing. More anatomically, it's actually a part of your amygdala, which sits just between the two hemispheres of your brain right here. And it's the information, it processes social information, emotions, and trustworthiness. And what's really cool about this too is that verbal communication is actually processed in a completely different part of the brain than nonverbal. I can't remember which one I said first. However, what's even more fascinating than this is that a UCLA study actually indicated that 93% of communication effectiveness is determined by nonverbal cues. Another study at Harvard said that 7% is actually affected by the words used, 38% is by your voice quality, and 55% is actually processed through your nonverbals, which is an astounding number. Let me show you a little bit of what I mean. According to Live Science, they say that the average human face at an average age can make up to 230 different facial expressions, not including the ones in between, which transitionally can also connotate different types of expressions as well. So what exactly counts as nonverbal communication? I decided to ask a couple of some very good friends of mine to show you what I mean. Please load. Okay.
I'm pregnant.
This is for you, Dr. Kim.
And you're the father, by the way? You got
No, I could get on the freaking bus.
I don't know.
I'm telling you. I can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. Please. Hello?
Let's put aside the fact that you accidentally picked up my grandmother's ring and you accidentally proposed to Rachel.
People do this.
So sorry. Anyways, the fun of that is Joey goes on to explain that accidentally doing this in a gesture doesn't always mean that everybody knows what this means, which is really fun. Beyond that, so as the video comedically explained and somewhat exaggeratedly also explained, nonverbal communication has a very wide array of categories and can include things like facial expression, eye contact, physical appearance, distance and space, posture, gesture, and so many others. Things even including color. Color psychology has been a little bit more on the rise nowadays, and you may show up to an interview wearing black where you communicate powerful and sleek and nail that interview. However, maybe if you go wearing yellow and you're seen as a little bit more on the youthful side, you may not get that job. I'm not saying that the entirety of your career is based off of whether or not you wear purple or green to your next interview, but I am saying that if UCLA and Harvard say that 93 or 55% of your communication comes from things like nonverbals, I would definitely consider what you're wearing. So, once your brain processes these verbal communications, according to expert Mark Bowden, they usually go into 4 different categories. Number 1 being friend. Is something good being relayed to you? Is there a smile, a wave of the hand, maybe a raising of your eyebrows, maybe you're even getting a hug? 2, is something being triggered in you as an enemy? Do you feel threatened by their body language? Do you feel like there's a negative adaptation by their nonverbals? 3, potential sexual partner, which I am not trying to exude in any way by my nonverbals today. Slightly different signals, maybe more powerful eye contact, even things like scent can affect you. And number 4, which I believe to be the most dangerous category, indifference, where something doesn't strike you as anything in particular. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just what it is. I'd like you to remember this box as we continue, and we'll come back to that at the end, okay? One thing I would like to also say as a disclaimer is that I am trying to put myself into the friend category today by hopefully smiling at you and appealing to you as not a predator or potential sexual partner or indifferent. It's also been shown that relaying yourself as a friend is something where people will actually process that as you being more, you're more easily respectable and able to be listened to as well. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. Where does ASL fit into all this? About 6 years ago, I was a pretentious, obnoxious, and very outspoken sophomore in high school. I had an opinion, and I wanted to make sure that everybody in the world knew about that opinion. And what also didn't help was that I am a singer, which meant that whether it was on my soapbox with my friends or on stage, I was definitely letting you know what I had to say about whatever it was, either through Disney tunes or the latest news. And I made sure that everybody knew what I was talking about and what I thought. And then I came to college, and a little bit of that changed, and a friend of mine introduced me to sign language, and I thought, this will be great. This is another way I can express my opinion, and I don't even have to use words now, which is going to be even more annoying, and it's going to be phenomenal. And so I waited 2.5 years to actually take this class, and the anticipation grew and grew, and when I finally sat down the very first day, they pushed a piece of paper in front of me, and they have you sign on the dotted line, "I will not ever use my voice in sign language class." And I completely freaked out. That was me. That was how I communicated. I sing, I talk. Sometimes I very assertively will yell my opinions at my poor little brother, and that was who I am. But little did I know it would open up an entire culture and people where I was going to learn so much from them. And I think the thing that I've learned and love most about sign language is that every interaction I have with someone who is deaf, there is something I learn about, an experience of the way you can contort your face to make meaning, and you can communicate without using any type of verbal. So within sign language, it's actually a language built entirely upon nonverbals. There are things like non-manual markers and non-manual signals that are used to not only enhance meaning like a normal language, but also to create meaning. And they're used in grammar and emotion and types of things, ranges of things, colors of things. It's incredible the way it's being used. I was talking to my good friend and deaf professor, Sandin Larson, who was very excited I was doing this presentation, and he told me that without them, the language wouldn't function. It's completely essential to sign language for nonverbals to exist. And so I'd like to demonstrate to you before you today so you can get a little bit of a visual for what I mean. There are two objects up here that look very similar and yet very, very different, and I'm going to sign both, and I would really love to see if you can tell which one I am signing. Now, I'm willing to bet 100% of the people in this room can tell, not knowing possibly any sign language or possibly never being in contact with sign, that you can differentiate the objects that I just signed based on the implosion of my cheeks and my face to exhibit some side of comfort, maybe even my legs being propped up on the recliner chair, maybe that hard desk going across and laying my arms on it. Everything that my nonverbals communicated actually was able to be processed by you not even knowing sign, and you were able to differentiate the two objects. So where does this fall into public relations? A little bit of a different route here. I asked, first on a surface level, some super practical tips. These are things that I believe a seasoned professional as well as anybody in general can also definitely use. Number one, hone this skill. I think this is something within the business realm that could be talked about a lot. Even the position and posture of your feet, whether turned towards someone or away, can regulate the idea that I'm ready for a conversation with you, or I'm not. I'm disinterested now. And I think in business etiquette, especially within PR, when we're dealing with relationships and people, it's really important that we make sure that we're aware of what our body is doing, even subconsciously. As well as the aspect of friend. One day, I'm willing to bet that a lot of us might be in positions of leadership. Even now, we're interns at places that are super exciting. And I think that when you exude this vibe of friend, people respect and listen to you. And I think that's going to be a very, very important piece of information to have. Also, nonverbals make all the difference. I think it's so important that they are just such an inherent part of our wiring that God's created us to have. And I think that great presentation leads to success. And I see this all the time at Disney, actually, a place where I currently work and hope to work in the future. We have this 4 things called the 4 keys: safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. And show is all about, I'm sure you know, show is all about how you can be show ready to interact with guests, to interact with coworkers. They're just good life guidelines. And they include the cleanliness guidelines as well as the don't dye your hair purple guidelines, but they also have things like, hey, smile when you're around people, because it definitely makes a difference. And I feel like if Disney, as a leading global figure of entertainment, is saying that your smile is important, I really believe that we should definitely be listening to that. I also asked you to remember this 4th box here, and I think that this is a very dangerous box. This will be my closing point, and I really hope that you can take this in. To understand that sometimes we are wired to be indifferent. You'll see people here who are like you and they exude friend. You see them smile and wave, maybe they give you a hug or they raise that eyebrow and they show that they are ready to give and relay something good to you. You've also had people trigger a predator in you, maybe something where there's just that little half signal that makes it a negative experience for you and you feel like, oh, this person might be my enemy. But all that aside, I think that each of the students here, not only in the summit, but at Biola at large, I think each of you here as well have brilliant ideas on how to change the world of PR and how to change journalism and how to change the world and universe maybe at large or maybe within your own specific sphere. And I believe that you have brilliant ideas and I have brilliant ideas, but sometimes we hit this wall of indifference and we see that sometimes because it's uninteresting, you have no sympathy, or because it's uninteresting, you're unconcerned. It's not good, it's not bad. Sometimes you just relay it to being mediocre. Sometimes you're uninterested because it's unexceptional. But this is why I love being a Christian, and this is why I love the PR industry, and this is why I love being a Christian within the PR industry, because as a Christian, by definition, I am a Christ follower, and I believe that Jesus, by example, did not show indifference. He did not say, I am uninterested in you, prostitute. He did not say, I am unsympathetic towards you, leper. And he did not say, you are unexceptional to me, sinner. I think that he showed everything but indifference, and I really wanted to end this presentation with a call to action as PR professionals and as journalists in a moving and shifting industry to always not be indifferent, because you stand in the gap of where people sometimes get left behind, and you can bring to light attention to groups of people, communities. Nicole just did hers on sexual assault, topics that people maybe aren't talking about and things that are hard to talk about. And I think that not having indifference is going to be something that's going to really change this generation of PR and of journalism. So in conclusion, I wanted to leave you with these 3 points. Nonverbals are everywhere. You can't escape them, so you might as well enjoy them. As well as nonverbals are a big part of both the hearing and deaf communities, and I really wanted to recognize the deaf community as one today. And that communication can definitely occur without noise, and it's very, very valid, and I think it's just as valid as communication that does happen without it. So thank you very much, and I'd like to open the floor up to a Q&A.